In this video, we're going to take a look at finishing the carabiner top subassembly by modeling the pin clip inside of the opening that we have set for the carabiner top. And to get started with that, we want to verify the top level of the assembly is active, and then we want to go ahead and choose a new component, to which we will name this to be the pin clip, and we'll say OK. The pin clip will become active in our browser, and now we can go ahead and start drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch. I'm going to choose the YZ plane. From here, I'm going to use the project geometry tool. So if I press the P key on my keyboard, it will automatically run that command. I'm going to choose a few lines down here toward the bottom. I want to choose this little short line segment. I want to choose this longer one, and I want to choose this arc, as well as the inside of this ellipse, the outside arc as well. And then I'm also going to choose the circle, which the axle pin is there as well. So I'm going to go up here to the top. I do need to go ahead and choose this angled line, this one as well, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab these edges as we go forward. I can go ahead and say OK. And then we'll have some purple lines that will signify the geometry. To complete the closed loop profile, I'm going to go ahead and choose under arc, 3-point arc. On the outside ends, I'm going to go ahead and connect them and set in a radius value there. Go there on the inside, go to the outside. And then there we're going to see a closed loop profile gets generated. I'm going to dimension these to a value of 0.85 each for the radius value. And then down here toward the bottom, I'm going to draw a line. It's kind of going to pass through our profile like so. And I'm going to dimension from the very bottom, from clicking from here to here. This is going to be a 0.07. And what we can actually do is I can shorten this line until it snaps to those purple lines that we projected from the previous sketch. So I'll get a little X, blue X, that'll show up there. Now we're ready to extrude. So let's finish the sketch. If we need to, I can go ahead and hide the carabiner top, and you can see what profiles that you're going to be extruding. So I'm going to choose the extrude button. Choose this top one, choose this one. We want to leave the hole open there. We're going to be doing a symmetric extrusion, whole length, and we're going to go ahead and set this to 0.115, which is the size of the opening that we have in the bottom. So there's our majority of our pin clip being made. I'm going to turn on the carabiner top once more. I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch on the side of the pin clip. And I'm going to project, and I'm going to go ahead and choose this shape again, by clicking inside of it. And then actually I want to grab these three lines, this longer line, this shorter segment, and this arc, because I want to separate, because the bottom portion of this is not going to get extruded out anymore. It's only the top portion. So I'll go ahead and say OK and finish the sketch. So now when I go to extrude, the only portion that'll highlight should be this top section right here that I have highlighted in blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on the little triangular cutout, so I can just click on the face. That should build that out to 8 thousandths of an inch, or 0.008 inches. And then we're going to go ahead and say OK, and it'll be a join operation that we're going to do. So we're just going to add more to it. I'm going to rotate over to the other side and repeat the same process. Create a sketch. Project, clicking the inside face. I'm going to grab the same three, this shorter line segment, longer one, and an arc. Click OK. Finish the sketch. Extrude just the top portion. Choose the inside triangular face, and it should build that out to be 8 thousandths of an inch using a join operation and saying OK. So this will start to create that little portion there on the top. Now, with the same kind of idea, we're going to do the same kind of thing to build out the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create Sketch, choose the side one more time, I'm going to go ahead and project this top portion to grab this, and I'll say OK. Now to make sure this gets everything, I'm going to go ahead and take a line, and right where it connects, I'm going to go ahead and trace over this triangular cutout and make sure it connects to those purple lines. So then that way I can go ahead and grab that portion. I can go ahead and say finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude, choosing that top portion and inside of that triangular cutout. That's going to be a distance of 0.085. So it's going to stick out a little bit past our carabiner pin, or actually it's going to match up pretty well to it. And we can go ahead and say join, and we'll say OK. So there we're going to see it's going to have some different modifications that we'll do later. Alright, looking on the other side, same operation. Just creating a sketch, projecting, clicking inside of the face there, and then I'm going to trace over the triangular cutout and connect to the purple projection line there. Finishing the sketch and extruding to a distance of 0.085, and we'll see that it'll build on the other side as well. We can say OK. Alright, so at this point the majority of our pin clip is pretty well done. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the carabiner top. We are going to then fillet this back edge 0.05 to give it its rounded appearance. And then what's going to happen now is we're going to need to create a little cutout on the opening. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch. We're going to choose the YZ plane, and I'm going to go ahead and project these two outside arcs. Hit OK. Project around the bottom here as well. And then we're going to have a line that'll get put in once we offset the front two arcs. We want to turn off the tangent or the chain selection, so I'm going to hit cancel, offset, uncheck that box, choose this arc and choose this one, and then move this inward to a distance of -0.02 and hit enter. Now what may happen is that we're going to create a line. We'll go across the top here from the bottom of the pin clip to that line. It's going to be a distance of 0.45. And right now the only thing we've got is we've got one of these arcs that is not making a connection. If I go to modify and extend, I can actually extend that arc. It'll get rid of the dimension, but if you dimension it again, there's 0.02. We can hit enter, and it doesn't really let me grab the bottom portion, but we know that that's pretty well set. So I'm gonna go ahead and say finish sketch. I'm going to extrude, and right now it's kind of hard to grab what profile that I'm wanting to get, so maybe it might be beneficial to run a section analysis. And I'm going to run it on the YZ plane and say OK. Now when I go to hit extrude, I can see there's like a little sliver here toward the front, which I don't want. I want to choose this larger portion, and this is going to be a symmetric extrusion, a whole length, a distance of 0.055, and you're going to notice it's going to go to a cut operation, but underneath the cut operation I need to click on the arrow where it says objects to cut, and I want to uncheck the axle pin, and the only thing that I want to check body wise would be the pin clip itself, and I can go ahead and say OK. So then when I turn off the section analysis, which I can just hide, now you'll see it gives that little indentation and opening there. Alright, next couple steps, I'm going to go ahead and choose fillet, and I'm going to choose these bottom two lines right here and here. So as you take a look, these are the light blue ones. These are going to have a fillet radius roughly of about .035. I can say OK, so I'll round that off. And then I can fillet the larger lines up here, the larger curved lines. That should be .130. So there's 0.1. We can also kind of check to see if 0.13 doesn't really work. I know sometimes with the fillets this can be kind of tricky as it's trying to go through and maintain that. So we can see 2.125 gets pretty close, 0.13. Some of that could be as well the fillet that we last placed on these. So I might back this fillet down. Instead of 0.035, let's go 0.030 or 30,000ths of an inch. Let's try to see if this affects my value here. So it does a little bit. So 0.12 would work if I stick with that. Or if I was to change this bottom portion as well, I can maybe get something a little bit closer. So let's see if I can get to 0.04. And I can fillet these outside edges. So there's 0.13. We're getting a little bit closer. To me, it's like you could start to see kind of as you get, you know, trying to match up those particular cases that could go through and kind of round some of those off. The issue that you got to watch for is to make sure that this radius doesn't interfere with the hole down on the bottom. So, and we're just going to kind of see how these two fillets kind of respond to each other. So 0.04 is probably a little bit too much. Let's go ahead and do 0.035. Then I can go ahead and fillet these outside edges. So 0.13 is going to be a little too much. 0.125, so 1/8 of an inch looks like it's going to work pretty well to be able to round this down, so that way these will kind of match up. If I kind of play with this, 0.126 gets a little closer. 0.127, 8, 9 is a little too much. So 0.128, if we're trying to get this real rounded looking appearance, we may go ahead and stick with that. But that's a little bit on the fillets. That can be a little tricky, and it's kind of pulling from those and trying to help to round these off, and it depends on what's going on the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the 0.128 and go ahead and say OK. That's going to give me that kind of rounded appearance on the pin clip. And if I was to change, you know, you'll see the tangent lines, but if you change your display settings over to a shaded, you would see these would be pretty much, this would be pretty much rounded on the front. So visual style, go back to visible edges. One last thing is we're going to create a sketch on the top. I'm going to create a rectangle. I'm going to base it off of in this upper corner on this little cutout. And usually I like to go through and try to line it up on that edge in this opening. The distance that we're looking from height-wise is 0.185. And then this line over here is able to be moved. So I'm going to choose collinear by choosing that line and choosing the edge of the opening there. This is going to get extrude cut down into the part, a value of -0.1, and then I can go ahead and choose OK. There, that gives that little cutout for the clip that we would see for where it kind of attaches. Alright, so this would finish out the pin clip. If I go and look at how this looks and turn on the carabiner top, you can kind of see how it all fits together and kind of works. And at this point I would maybe need to go through and change my appearance. I used a red before, so I'm going to duplicate this, right click and edit the duplicate, change this over to orange, and then I can kind of see what kind of orange color I can get from it. Choose done. grab and drop onto the pin clip there, hit close. And the last step here that we're going to create is we're going to go ahead and we're going to use an as-built joint. I'm going to go ahead and choose a revolute joint type, choose the pin clip, select the carabiner top, and then it's going to ask me for a snap position. So I'm actually going to turn my analysis for the section back on. I'm going to go ahead and select the inside of this axle. So you'll see that's going to be where it spins like that. And I can say OK. I'm going to turn the section back off. And then I'm going to open up the joints and right click on Revolute 2, choose Edit Joint Limits. And I'm going to check the minimum and maximum to turn them on. The minimum is going to be a negative 40 degrees. So you'll see it'll go backward there on onto the carabiner top. The maximum is going to go to 0. So when I animate, you can see that's where it opens and closes. We can see that now. And I can go ahead and say OK. And if I grab it, put it back, there is my joint being applied with the motion and joint limits. So this video will complete the carabiner top subassembly with carabiner top component, axle pin, and pin clip. And now for the next video, we're going to start looking at doing the assembly of the carabiner pin. Check out that next video to finish out the project and finish up activity 2.2.6, top down or bottom up.